Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to a very special Shelf Help Club author event with the one and only Mr. Paul McKenna. I know all of our author events are special in their own way, and I do say that a lot, but tonight is a very, really extra special. It's a big moment for the Shelf Help Club because we are hosting the UK's best-selling non-fiction author. So that is a big deal. And we're going to be celebrating the launch of Paul's new book, Power Manifesting. It's also a big moment for me personally because, as some of you know, some of you guys know this story. Paul's book, Change Your Life in 7 Days, was the first self-help book that I read ever, just over 10 years ago. I started reading it, Paul, in January 2015. And the story is that it took me a year to finish the book about changing your life in 7 days because it was all so new to me. And it was all these ideas, it started all these ideas, and just I went down so many rabbit holes. And it just started this huge, amazing journey of self-discovery, really. So it 100% changed my life. It's the reason that Shelf Help exists. So being able to interview you tonight is such a wonderful full circle moment, and to share it with the community. So I don't want to embarrass you, but honestly, you're one of the loves of my life. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I know I remember when you got in touch years ago, and I just thought, what a brilliant idea, the Shelf Help Club, a group of people getting together to talk about improving themselves. And so it was an honor to be asked to be part of your club tonight, actually. So thank you for inviting me. And hello to everybody who's come to join us this evening.
Yeah, hi everybody. Nice to see you. Do you get that a lot, Paul, when people tell you that you changed their life?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, I get things like people go, like this guy stopped me in the street and he held up his phone and he went, "I can sleep." And I said, "Well, no, that's very good." He went, "No, you don't understand. I haven't had a sleep for years. And now I can sleep because I've got your app." Or when
Mm.
I do a tour of live shows um, around the country, UK and Ireland. The show, the 90-minute coaching experience is the easy bit. It's the 500 selfies at the end is the hard work. But people come with well-thumbed copies of a book from 20 years
Yeah.
ago, and usually with a great story. They'll tell me something really wonderful. Do you know, this guy the other day was interviewing me, and he said, he goes, "Oh, I bought your book on confidence about 20 years ago." And I said, "Oh yes. Did you find it helpful?" He said, "Well, there was a girl at the radio station where I worked, and I wanted to ask her out, but I didn't have the confidence. And so I used the technique to, create positive self-talk and self-belief." I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "We've been married 15 years."
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that one technique in that book, helped that
Yeah.
person to have a massive life change. So I am used to hearing it. I never get tired of it. And,
Mm.
and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but when someone says something to me, like you just said, I go, "Well, then you are the person I wrote the book for."
This in your life. So what does a day in your life look like at the moment? And how would you describe your relationship with yourself?
Okay, so there are no 2 days the same, but a lot of if I was to sort of try and make an average day up, I usually wake up and I'm become a fanatical juicer. So I go and make some, green juice. I might make some breakfast if I'm hungry, smoked salmon, scrambled eggs, and a cup of tea. And I bring my wife a cup of tea. And then I have a little look at what's going on in the world, or people send me, daft little videos or memes and things, which make me chuckle. And then it might depend. I mean, I might have a creative project. I might be writing something. I might be doing. There's a lot of video conferencing nowadays and
Mm.
webinars. At least twice a week, I do a webinar. I my I do them for corporations, or I put on public events, or I'm doing media at the moment to promote my new book. My main business is with Mind Valley. We have the largest hypnotherapy training organization in the world now,
Mm.
and we train thousands of people every year in how to be hypnotherapists in 4 months. And I do
Mm.
live sessions with people twice a week, and do Q&A and coaching and that sort of stuff. And I have a team of people that help me. So I'm actually pretty busy. Um, I,
Mm.
I You know, I suppose I've gotten to a stage, I'm in my 60s now, where I've tried to slow down, but I keep getting offered rather exciting things, different projects. And so I mean, I'm getting better at saying no, but
Hmm.
I've stopped treating people one to one. I mean, I
Right.
did that for nearly 40 years, and it was great. But I believe my I'm best serving people now by actually teaching people to be really good
Mm.
hypnotherapists. And that's a modern hypnotherapist who uses hypnosis, NLP, and the psychosensory technique havening, which I think we're going to talk about later. So my average day is a mix of training, of meetings. Sometimes, I mean, a little bit of exercise too. I got a bike here in the house, and I do like to walk in nature. I used to walk in nature with my dog, who sadly passed away a few months ago. And that was a great joy to me to walk with her. And I also love watching TV, quite like cooking. My wife and I are pretty good at cooking, about 10, 12 things each. And, there's never been so much great television and film, and I sort of got really into it during the pandemic where you had no
Yeah.
choice. And so I got hooked on all these different, things. But I used to be very social and go out all the time. I hardly ever go out these days. But, it's nice to see friends. One of my favorite things is to be in good company, good food, good wine, beautiful environment. That sort of ticks all the boxes for me. So
Yeah.
that's a sort of I think I've painted with broad brush strokes about um, the aspects of a day in my life. My relationship with myself is pretty good. Hasn't always been. When I was younger, I was a nerdy, geeky kind of kid. I didn't necessarily like myself very much. And as I got interested in NLP and hypnosis, I began to become much more confident and self-appreciative. I used to only want to be judged on what I could do, but not who I was. And I think one of the great things in the sort of journey that I've been on in the last 61 years is I've been trying to better myself. And sometimes I've succeeded and sometimes I haven't. But I like the Greek, from Greek mythology, that Zeus thought that human beings originally were too powerful, so he cut them into two. And your, if you like, your purpose in life, or one of them, is to find the other half of you, the person that completes you. And I'm very fortunate in that I've done that after many mistakes. I'm not just married, I'm happily married to a wonderful woman who I believe completes me. And so my relationship with myself is one of evolution. I try my best to be a good person. I like to be kind and generous. But like any human being, I got a full dynamic range of emotions. I can get angry or sad, or feel guilty or something like that. I don't feel up all the time, but I do feel pretty good. I feel happy because I live my values. I used to be all about goals. I had to do this and this and this, and I got a lot of stuff done, but I never really stopped to enjoy it. Whereas these days, my life is very much about living my values. Do I feel loved? Do I love my friends and family? Do I feel healthy? Did I do something kind? Was I creative? That sort of stuff. So my
Mm.
relationship with myself is the best it's been, but I'm a Buddhist, and the Buddha wasn't a god, he was a man who perfected himself. So I'm always looking for ways to improve. I'm not I can be a bit of a perfectionist, but I'm not there going, I'm not good enough. I'm going, how can I be better, even better today? So
Mm.
I hope that
Mm.
answers the question.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer. I mean, so you say you're the happiest yourself you've ever been. I suppose that's the work in progress element of life, isn't it? Just continually growing and learning and living your values, so important. I think you've written about in previous books that you were very goal oriented, and then you kind of achieved a lot of stuff, but you weren't necessarily that happy
Yeah,
sometimes with all that stuff. So
yeah.
I think there's lots to be taken from that. Um, and what about do you have like then like a regular manifestation practice, or is it when you're thinking about something specific, like if you were like, I want to manifest a tour or whatever, or like a new book that you're thinking about or something like that?
So this is a good question. See, How this manifesting book came about was my friend Michael Neal. He's a brilliant life coach, American life coach. He said to me, he goes, I've noticed, you tend to get a lot of what you set out to achieve. And I said, yeah, I suppose I do actually. I hadn't thought about it. Yeah. He said, and I noticed you manifest, right? I went, well, I do, but I don't tell anyone that because it sounds a bit woo-woo and not very scientific. Because he said, well, why don't you write about this? And I said, no, 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 no. He said, look, come out of the closet was his words. What have you got to lose, right? I'm probably quite near the end of my publishing career now. And I said, maybe, yeah, maybe I could do this. So I told my publisher, who also said, woo woo. Anyway, when I do a book is I imagine going off into the future and I hold the book and I get a sense of it. And
Mm.
it's like, the tone of it and whether I like it or not. And then I flick through the pages in my imagination and it begins to get clearer and clearer. And the closer I get to completing the book, the clearer it becomes. Now, lots of people do this. Paul McCartney was being interviewed a few years ago and he was asked, he'd written a ballet. And the question was, how do you write a ballet? And he said, I'm sitting here in the theater, opening night, curtain goes up. What do I see? What do I hear? You know, Tesla
Mm.
would design a machine inside his mind before he'd build it in the real world. So, a lot of design is done in the human mind. And manifesting essentially is imagining something and bringing it into creation. And there's a bit in the middle that's sort of missing, which is taking action to do that, which a lot of people forget because they sort of think all you have to do is wish for something and it happens. Nah, because
Go
that's
do some
why,
work.
yeah, but that's why most people fail at their New Year's resolutions. If all we had to do was wish for things, we'd all be in mansion houses living, fantastic lives. No, there's important part which is taking action. The way I manifest is slightly different, I've noticed, to the way other people do it. So there are some really, really good books on manifesting, by the way, and many of them are quite spiritual, and that's nothing wrong with that. I take a slightly more scientific approach. I see
Mhm.
most people two-dimensionally manifest. They write down their goals. And by the way, if you're clear about your goals, you're significantly more likely to achieve them. People who have clear goals make more money. That's a simple thing. Then also two-dimensional manifesting is vision board pictures, right? Three-dimensional is when you imagine you're there, you've arrived, you've achieved it. What does it look like, sound like, feel like?
Mm.
Four-dimensional manifesting, which is what I do, is I go out to the future. I imagine I've achieved what it is I want. What do I see, hear, feel? I do an ecology check. Is there any cost to this, any negative thing? Did I burn myself out? Did I upset somebody? I then also check what could have stopped me, what could have got in the way. This is the important bit.
Ah.
I step backwards, I back engineer how I got there. So I go, what happened before I achieved this? What happened before I achieved this? What happened before I achieved this? Until I'm back to now, right? So my mind has then got a route, a series of steps,
Wow.
and I lock it in my timeline for those of you that, speak NLP. And there it is. All of my energy, all of my creativity, all of my motivation then is focused like a laser beam.
Mm. And would that happen? This might be a dumb question, but there's no such thing. But would that happen in like the first time that you're imagining this scenario, or does that take a while to get that kind of reverse engineering path?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a yes or no. Sometimes it's very clear what it is, and then the back engineering, all the figuring out the problems on the way, um, are where the work is. But
Mhm.
also, yeah, sometimes it's just like, bam, I know exactly how we're going to do this. Other times, there are hurdles to be overcome. I mean, Richard Branson, look, basically, we're all manifestors. When you think about what you're going to have for breakfast, and then you go make it, you're manifesting it. Yeah. But Richard Branson told me when he came up with the idea for Virgin Airlines, he was on a flight in the 70s, right? And
Mhm.
in those days, there was one TV in the entire cabin and these awful headphones, and some grumpy person threw something that looked like chicken in your lap. And that was it. And he's sitting there on a flight in the 70s running a record company. And he thought, if I had an airline, right? So
Mm.
he takes the limiters off. and he starts to imagine it. I put a TV in every seat, nice headphones, flat seat, bar, a lounge that people look forward to getting to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm.
And he then gets off the plane and he rings up Boeing and he says, "How much is a jumbo jet?" And oh, it's too much, you'll bankrupt us. Oh, but you can lease one, right? So he then, so he found ways to get around what was going to potentially hold him back, leasing instead of buying, etc. And then he took massive action. So we're all manifesting all day long. Some of us are manifesting small things, and some of us are manifesting big things. But essentially, we're imagining, we're trying things out inside our mind, and when we're satisfied that that's a good idea, we take action and we may well bring it about.
Mm. And what about the idea? So on the front book on the front cover, it says the science of getting what you want. So were you nervous about putting the book out? And because you already said you thought it might be too woo for Paul McKenna, but it's
Yeah,
here now and you're out the closet.
I'm
So
out.
how's the reaction been and and how have you felt about it?
Well, I was nervous about uh, being able to do justice to the science without it being too academic. Because one of the things I pride myself on in my books is that they're user friendly, they're easily understandable. I mean,
Mm.
somebody once said to me, "What you're putting in these books is common sense." I go, "Do you have any idea how hard it is to write common sense?" So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I looked at, I mean, I can give you some of the science now. I mean, basically, Einstein said that everything's energy. Match the frequency of the energy to what it is you want, and you cannot help but bring about that what you want. Einstein was a manifester. Who knew it? Right. And if you look at manifesting through a sort of quantum lens, it's really easy to understand it because everything is energy, right? This desk, me, you, Tony, everybody watching, we're all atoms and molecules vibrating at a density and frequency, but we're vibrating at a different density and frequency to the desk, which is why this is a desk and I'm a person, right? But essentially, it's all energy. Now, what's really interesting in the law of attraction, which I think is an interesting model, the idea is your energy, you attract to you a similar energy. Now, a good example again from science is the law of sympathetic resonance, where you take two pianos and you put them in a room, you hit the C chord on one, the C chord on the other vibrates in resonance, right? Now, this is how all the lucky, rich, happy people find each other, and how misery loves company, and all the miserable people, they manage to find each other too. Now, that's not to say that, because then people extrapolate from that. They go, right, so if I just am in a happy state all the time, only good things will happen to me. No, right? But if I do good things, will good things happen to me? They're likely to, if you tend to be a good person, and do good things, yeah, you're increasing your likelihood. But there's something called karma. And karma is, well, it depends how you look at it. But in the West, people tend to think, it's you reap what you sow, which is not the way I see it. I see karma from an Eastern perspective. Sure, it's the sort of sum total of your deeds and actions, but also it's you pull to you what you need to learn. This is why, good people get cancer and villains have their own super yacht. So what I'm saying is I like the idea of everything's energy. The better our energy, the more likely we are to attract into our lives positive experiences, people, etc. But also we're going to experience challenges along the way because that's what being human is about. And so, if I look back on some of the things that weren't good that happened to me, wouldn't have signed up for them, but there was always a massive learning in it. And so I see
Mm.
that as my karma.
Mm. And from a point of view, so you say that the way you manifest is slightly different, and I love that description of the 4D manifestation. And so do you feel like, is this book for people who are already know a little bit about manifesting or are just trying to change something in their life?
Well, I like to think of it as being a book for everyone and anyone. So if you're into manifesting, this will be right up your street. If you just want some motivation and you you want a better life, right? And you want strategies about how to go achieve it. That's, how to lose weight, how to find love, how to create money, how to be more successful in your career or social situations, how to build a better life. This has got plenty of strategy in there about how to do that. And the other thing, it comes with 12 audio downloads, and one of them is a hypnotic trance. Because see, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't think I could really concentrate on achieving what it is I want. I don't have." And I say, "Well, that's fine." Like the other day, I was having my hair cut, right? And the lady cutting my hair said, "Oh, I'm not really into that mindfulness. I just can't relax. My mind, can't clear." And I said, "Okay, do you think I should cut my own hair?" And she said, "You what?" I said, "Do you think I should cut my own hair?" She went, "No." I said, "Who should cut it?" She said, "Professional hairdresser." I went, "Right. So when it comes to concentrating, when it comes to relaxing, when it comes to focusing your mind on achieving something, let a hypnotist do it to you." Right? So
Mm.
this book comes with a trance that trains your brain to go into states of intense focus, whereby you can imagine being richer, whereby you can imagine, your business flourishing, whereby you can imagine a beautiful relationship with companionship, whereby you can imagine just being happier and living this more awesome, abundant life.
Mm. Yeah, and it is a practice, isn't it, as well? You talk about
Yeah.
that eventually with practice, you'll be very quickly able to get yourself into the right state of mind to start manifesting. But we need to, it will take time, it may take time to get there.
Yeah, it's like anything, the more you practice it, the better you get. See, some people are
Mhm.
really good at manifesting what they don't want, right? You ask people what they want, and they'll tell you what they don't want, right? They'll go,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be single. I don't want to be shy. I don't want whatever," right? And they're putting all their energy into that. Now, one of the sort of the laws of modern psychology is you get more of what you focus on in life, right? So if you're putting all your energy into what you don't want, you're going to get more of it, right? Whereas if you
Hmm.
put energy, you've got to know what you don't want, but put your energy into what you do want. My friend Mikey Neal, who I mentioned earlier, he says if you go and tell a lamppost your plans every day, they're just more likely to happen, right? So in a sense, manifesting is it does require a bit of discipline, a bit of focus. But if
Hmm.
you're not particularly good at that, let me do it for you. Put the
Hmm.
trance on and let me guide you into imagining the life that you want to have.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love the audio tracks, and I love the audio tracks from Change Your Life as well in 7 days. It's you're right. It's just you're kind of handing yourself over to the expert. So I think even if you're kind of a bit on the shelf or not knowing what to expect, but you just want to change something, it's just like just having that almost that belief and that decision that you're open to it is a really good start, isn't it? Um, Let's talk about some of the techniques that you share in the book then, and you're going to guide us through havening specifically, aren't you? Can we talk about that and what that
Yeah.
is?
So there are a number of what we call psychosensory techniques right now. There's one where the one where you tap on your acupuncture points called TFT, not to be confused with EFT. That's a different thing. And TFT, wonderful. It works on the idea that there is, life force flowing through your meridians. It's the Eastern medicine model. And my late friend Roger Callahan, who was a brilliant psychologist, he came up with the TFT model. There's another one where you look up if you feel traumatized and move your eyes back and forth, and it desensitizes. And that definitely works for some people. I don't use it because I find it just doesn't stick. But I know people it works for. Now, the new kid on the block, which was created by my dear friend Dr. Ronald Rudin, who is not just an MD, he's a Harvard PhD in neuropharmacology. So he's a pretty eminent scientist. He found that the touch of certain parts of the body here, 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 and here produce a delta wave. Now, when you go through trauma, right, 100 hertz wave travels from the thalamus and it phosphorylates what's called the AMPA receptors. All right, so it creates a biological change in the brain. And when you do the havening touch like this, you summon the upset, and you do the havening touch like this. What happens is you release a massive amount of delta, because when you were a baby, your mother held you in her arms and she rocks you like this, and you are hardwired to produce delta, and the delta dephosphorylates the AMPA receptors. Now, where we use havening is in the treatment of PTSD, trauma, depression, pain, all sorts of stuff. But we also use it for overcoming blocks, because sometimes someone will go, "I'm blocked in my career," or "I'm blocked in my relationships or my finances," or whatever. And the unconscious knows what the block is. And the block may have been formed, very early on in life. There was a guy who came to see me many years ago in the 80s when I started. And every time he started to become successful, he'd sabotage it. And I wouldn't do it like this nowadays, but I was an old school hypnotherapist in those days. So I regressed him and I went, "Go to the time when this happened." And when he was a little kid, he'd said to his mum, "When I grow up, I want to be successful." And she went, "Ooh, you don't want to be successful, son. Those successful people have heart attacks." Right. Now, an authority figure saying to somebody at a formative age something pretty powerful and emotive went straight into his unconscious with the power of hypnotic suggestion. So I pulled it, and of course he stopped sabotaging. So the way I do it now is, if you want, I'd like you to think about. So by the way, when you the language of the unconscious is symbology. So if you want to try this now, think about an area where you feel blocked, right? It could be relationships, it could be career, it could be finances, it could be anything, anywhere where you feel blocked. And then if it's safe to do so, put your arms like this here. Stroke the side of your eyes, please. Stroke the side of your arms. That's it. Now, if it's safe to do so, close your eyes. Close your eyes and get in touch with the block and notice what appears. Now, some people see like a brick wall, or they see a mountain of sludge, or they see just a block or a blob or something like that. But keep stroking the side of your arms. And I want you to get in touch with the uncomfortable feeling that comes from the block. So with your eyes closed, get in touch with that uncomfortable feeling that is associated with the block, and get it as strong as you can. Get it as strong as you can. Keep stroking the side of your arms. And now clear your mind. Clear your mind, and I'd like you to imagine that we're walking on a beach on a summer's day, and with each footstep that you take in the sand, I'm going to count out loud from 1 to 20. Keep stroking the side of your arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Keep stroking the side of your arms, and I'd like you now to remember a happy time. Any happy time. That's right. And I would like you to return to it now like you're back there again. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel the good feelings all over again. Keep going through this memory, making it very vivid, what you see, hear, and feel. And I'd like you to notice where you feel the good feelings strongest in your body, and give those good feelings a color, any color you like, and move that color up through your neck into your head. Imagine that color moving all the way around your head, down into your shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers, down through your chest, into your legs, to the tips of your toes, and double the brightness, and double it again until you're glowing with this lovely, wonderful color. That's right. Now we're going to take a walk in a garden. And with each footstep that you take in the grass, I'm going to count out loud from 1 to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now stop, keep your eyes closed, put your arms out in front of you with your palms facing up. That's right. And I'd like you to now get in touch with the part of you that wants to succeed and achieve in a particular area or areas of your life. That part of you that wants an even better life. Yeah, get in touch with it and put it in one of your hands. Yeah, what's it feel like? What's it going to be like when you achieve this, whatever it is you want in this area of your life? Now, in your other hand, I'd like you to put the part of you that stops you, sabotages, holds you back, or stops you from achieving fully what you can do. So you've got these two aspects of self, but they both have a positive intent. Just like the guy that, was told successful people have heart attacks, part of him wanted to protect him. It's the job of the unconscious. But the unconscious is not logical, it's purposeful. And its purpose is protection. So now bring your hands together until one is on top of the other and let these two aspects of you figure out how it is they're both going to fulfill their positive intent, how it is they're both going to do what's best for you, but without being in conflict, so that you're able to achieve more and do more and get more of what you truly want in life. And when it feels like it's possible, be like a click or just a, yeah, it's possible, pull your hands towards your chest and integrate that new super part into you. That's right. Soon as it feels like it's possible, there you go. Pull that. That's it. Good. Now, what will you see, hear, and feel as you move beyond your limitations, as you experience a more beautiful and better and richer and even more wonderful life? What will you see, hear, and feel? That's right. Get a sense of it. Let it encode into your unconscious mind, because this is going to be the future, the richer future that you deserve, that your unconscious mind is going to create for you. And when you're ready, just relax your hands and open your eyes and come on back out. Now, should be feeling pretty good right now. Now, for some people, it will be like, wow, I got a shift. I got a shift, right? Other people will be going, yeah, I think so. And just see how it plays out over the next few days. But I've done this, but the bit at the end is the NLP technique, by the way. So I did this, the havening, this bit, this is the NLP, and I put the two together to make it into a sort of super technique for you. But don't be too surprised at some of the shifts, changes in your perception, some of the good things that just start to spontaneously happen to you over the next few days.
Amazing. I I'll just tell you about my experience just then. It was at the beginning when you were talking about feel that the not nice feeling. I really felt sick. Like I could feel it in my body, all around my
Sure.
throat and mouth and stomach,
Mhm.
like that, like really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some people get it as a very, very strong feeling, that's this works. I mean, the science on how it works, if you're interested in the science, there's a wonderful video on YouTube. It's about 20 minutes long that explains because Ron Rudin is, as well as an MD, he's a neuropharmacologist. But somebody's made a beautiful 20-minute video that explains the science of it. But all you need to know is, by the way, there's a lot of science on this now. There's been, because it's been around about 10 years, so there's been tons of studies done on this, and it works incredibly well. I very much recommend it. The Havening community are a very science medical community. They're not really a sort of self-help rah-rah brigade. They're doctors,
That's
psychologists,
us.
psychiatrists, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Guys, anyone watching, I'd love to know in the chat what you focused on. Be amazing. Just like as a general topic, was it kind of career, love, money, or just happiness? Lots of people are kind of responding already, saying they could feel different things. So yeah, let us know what you were actually what you're looking to work on. So Paul, like an audio similar to what you just shared with us
Yeah.
is the kind of thing that comes with this book, isn't it?
Comes with the book, but you'll find on my YouTube channels, my YouTube channel, I put some havening techniques there. So if you want to try some more, you can go and do it. There's loads of stuff online, by the way, as well. It's been
Mm.
around, as I say, for about 10 years. I was involved with Ron right at the very beginning. In fact, I introduced him to TFT, and he couldn't understand how it worked. Of course, he's looking at it from a Western scientific point of view. And so he decided to do his own research. It took 7 years, and he came up with the behavioring model. And we started, we originally worked quite a lot with people with extreme trauma. And we did a study for King's College that was originally a classified military study. And then it became declassified, and we included rape victims and, as well as war veterans and bereavement cases. And we use it for really heavy stuff, but it also works real well on just removing blocks, So
Mm.
I thought there'd be a nice example to use that tonight.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And you shared, I think offline, you were saying, yeah, you can use it for this kind of the front line dealing with PTSD, dealing with trauma, but then also we can use it to just make our lives better in whatever area we are looking
Yeah.
to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes people, I've seen this work and, this thing as well, the visual squash. I've seen that be a game changer for people in terms of relationship, career, all sorts of
Mm.
finances, everything. Suddenly, it's like they're a different person when you see them a few months later.
Yeah, and I think and doing that session just now and listening to the audios with the book, the stuff that comes to your head is like it's just something you can't imagine what it would be. It's very it's sometimes quite surprising. Like even now still though, I am a little bit like, all right. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
that's a bit of a stretch, but I suppose that's what we want, right?
Sure, sure. But the thing is, it's, again, some people assume it has to be binary, like I have to be married by this date or whatever. No, it might
Yeah.
just be that you suddenly, your love life gets better. Or it might just be that you make more money, or it might just be that, you're less anxious, or that you're suddenly your social phobia disappears and suddenly you make more friends and connections. So
Mhm.
I would look for, sort for where it's working. And also, it's quite normal for people to go, well, it can't be that easy, can it? And, I'm here to say, yeah, it can. I've seen it thousands and thousands of times,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's funny. One of the nicest things the other day, I was being interviewed by Patrick Kilty, and he said to me, I've known Paddy for about 20 years, and he said, Paul, I always get the feeling when I'm talking to you that anything's possible. And I went, well, yeah. I mean, why don't you think? He goes, no, 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 I don't think people think like that. And I went, oh, yeah, I suppose you're right. There's a lot of people who think, this is my lot in life. And, if I start to succeed, I'll have imposter syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
And part of my job is, as any hypnotherapist's job really is to show people a richer world. Show it to them sometimes in
Yeah.
their imagination before you show it to them in real life.
Yeah, that getting rid of those limits, isn't it, and showing what's possible. And I think, do you have any advice then? I mean, this is a good crowd. We are all here because we're interested in improving ourselves and learning about that. But even we, and maybe even you, sometimes feel resistance to the things we really need to do, maybe, or that we know we're going to find difficult, or feel that they're going to be difficult. So, do you have any advice around resistance and maybe feeling negative about certain areas?
Yeah, I mean, but basically, one of the ways people stop themselves is they pick too big a goal and they don't have the steps to get there. All right. So,
Mm.
New Year's resolutions are a great example. They're wishes, I'd like to lose weight, I'd like to quit smoking, right? Yeah. You need a strategy. So, the
Yeah.
way I recommend you overcome resistance is you go out into the future and you imagine you've achieved it. Now, actually, sometimes people go, well, I can't imagine that, right? Or if I say, imagine you're at your perfect weight, they go, I can't imagine it. So I go, could you imagine yourself 3 or 4 pounds lighter? And they'll go, yeah,
Mm. Hmm.
step into that lighter you. Okay. Can you imagine yourself 3 or 4 pounds? Yeah, okay, step into that. You clothes are loose, so
Sure.
and we do it in stages. So basically, anything can be achieved if it's broken down into small enough chunks. That's
Mm.
really the kind of the golden rule is if you're finding it overwhelming, if you're finding there's too much resistance, the goal is big, but you haven't got
Yeah.
small steps in order to get there. There was a lady who lost 10 stone using my weight loss system. And she ran 3 marathons. And I said to her, how'd you do it? And she said, well, I watched this is years ago, it was one of my DVDs, and she thought, I'll take the dog for a walk. And she walked him around the block. The next day, she thought, I'll walk him a bit further. And then she went, yeah, actually, I'm going to walk him even further. Actually, I'm going to get a tracksuit on and go for a run, and so on and so on. So, in incremental steps, she suddenly built up to being able to run a marathon. So, basically, anything can be achieved if you break it down into small enough chunks.
Yeah, amazing. I love that because we're all about the kind of like think big, huge goals, no limits. But I think you're right. That's like to hear you say you need a strategy. That's it's brilliant because then we all like a plan, don't we, guys? We
Well,
just need a
well,
plan to improve our life.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Well, you've got to have a goal, Tony, that's big enough to get you out of bed, right? But
Yeah.
you've also got to have steps on the way to achieving it. Because all you have is a big goal, it's going to be overwhelming. But this is where the back engineering comes in. I mean, I do a process with people. I could do another quick process if you fancy it. And this is really good at getting you clear about what's important to you and your life. Now, what's really interesting was a study done a few years ago with people in old people's homes. And they were asked, what do you wish you'd done more of or less of? And 80% of them said they wish they'd worried less, right? So if it's safe to do so, we just get a real quick thought experiment. Close your eyes for a moment. And I'd like you to imagine going off into the future to near the end of your life. Not the end, but near. And you've lived your life the way you presently are living it. Ask yourself, what do you wish you'd done more of? And what do you wish you'd done less of? Get a sense of it. And then bring those insights with you all the way back to now, hindsight ahead of time. And then what I'd like you to do is, again, we're going to go off into the future. And this time, assuming you've had the most wonderful life. It's been amazing. It's been fantastic. So off you go into the future. There you are. Wow. It's been the most awesome life. What made it so awesome? Was it things you did? Was it things you didn't do or stopped doing? Was it the people? Was it things you achieved? Was it to do with environment, location? What were the things, family, all the things that made your life really amazing? And get all of those insights and bring them with you and bring them back to this moment here and now. Now, some of those things will be conscious, you'll be aware of them, and other things will be at the unconscious level and may pop up as insights over the next few days. And when you're ready, just come on back out.
So nice to do these as well. It just feels like they do make you feel great. I think Richard said he came to see you and he walked around with a glow for days after.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay. Can I ask you a few questions then, Paul, just to
Of
close
course.
from the chat? If anyone has a question, drop them in the chat. We've got a few more minutes. But Sean has asked about values, and because you talked about that earlier. And Sean is someone. Sean and I have been talking about what we were going to ask you, and her situation is she feels like she has manifested, with thanks to you and that kind of work herself. She's manifested a life she's really happy with, but that she now feels a bit stuck and stagnant and maybe coasting a little bit. Maybe I'm putting words into her mouth, but that kind of idea of living in alignment with your values more.
Okay, I think, yeah, it's a great question, and it's very appropriate for this evening. See, I used to be all about goals, right? Got stuff done, goals, goals, goals. Never stopped to enjoy it. And there's nothing wrong with having goals. But if all you have is goals, then your life will at some point feel like there is no point, or that, maybe that's a bit strong, or that you're sort of, on a mill, like a mouse on a wheel. And if you look at the happiness levels between sort of now and the 1940s, they're about the same, right? Even though we're richer, we're healthier, we've got more democracy, blah, blah, blah. And that's because I think we've mistaken pleasure for happiness. Now, pleasure is a bubble bath, buying a new handbag or sports car or something. Happiness is when we're living our values. I'm going to give you my values, right? My values are top of the list, health. Do I feel healthy mentally and physically? If I can tick that box each day, bam, I'm living my values. Um, freedom. Do I get to choose most of the things I do in a day? Yeah, that's freedom. Yeah. Kindness. Did I do something kind? Love. Do I feel loved by my family and friends? Do I love them? Did I do something creative? Was I creative today? Yeah. So basically, if I can tick those boxes, I'm happy, right? And then if I get something that I'm aiming to get, hey, that's fantastic. But it's my happiness isn't nailed to achieving that particular thing at that particular
Mm,
time. It's about showing up each day and living my values. And I'll say to people, what is it you want? They'll go, money. I'll say, okay, what does the money get you, give for you, do for you? And they'll say, give me a feeling of security. So, okay, the goal is money, the value is security. So values are those things that are most important to us. And that exercise we just did should put you more in touch with your values.
yeah, I wonder what Tommy said. The thing at the end of my life is having fun with my family. My vision was being somewhere sunny, probably because I'm here, but being somewhere sunny but surrounded by friends and family, making a life where that's possible. Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's I love that about happiness is when we are living our values. Lovely. And a question from Eva Kristen: thoughts about manifestation in relation to identity work? Does that make sense to
Yeah, I
you?
mean,
Yeah.
identity. Yeah, okay. So identity is who we think we are, right? Um, it's our self-image. It's like a blueprint, right? And what we believe about ourselves, we don't deviate from. So some people just think I'm not artistic because they were told it when they were a kid, or they're shy because they never really got to speak out loud and were put down, so they formed a belief that they're a shy person. It's their identity. And, I've had various identities over the years, and some of them have been useful and some of them haven't. I've
Mm.
just progressed and thought, I'm just not going to believe that about myself anymore. And bam, changed it.
Mm.
And one of the things you could do, again, as a process, um, is this very quick process. If it's safe to do so, close your eyes. And I'd like you to think about somebody who loves and respects you, somebody who really loves you, they really respect you, and they're standing in front of you. And I'd like you to imagine floating out of yourself and into them. Step into them and look at yourself through the eyes of love and respect. Notice all the things they notice about you that maybe you hadn't noticed before. And then take a picture and take that picture with you and float back into yourself and put that picture in your mind. So when you think about yourself in future, you see yourself through the eyes of love and respect. So again, this is a very simple way of shifting identity, because along the way, understandably, we pick up some ideas which are positive about ourselves and some that are negative, and they might not be true. I
Mm.
like to try and, best I can, believe the positive things about myself, but I'm open to hearing feedback in case I'm wrong about something. But
Yeah.
because I don't want to be some narcissist lunatic. But it's if I find generally human beings are benevolent. Very few people get up in the morning and think, "How can I piss everybody off today?" There are people like that, but very few. Most people are
Yeah.
just trying their best.
Yeah.
That's what I find.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because, like you say, we take on these stories, don't we? And we're so quick to believe the negative things, but to actually look at ourselves from the point of view of someone who thinks we're awesome is brilliant. That's such a nice
Yeah,
feeling as well.
that's right. Again, it
Um,
shifts your perspective. Mm.
yeah. So, and final question from Marianne then. If we're new to this, where should we start? Repeating the havening exercise frequently or something else? So we've been reading Miracle Morning. That was our last book at the moment. So lots of us have been getting into that kind of morning routine of doing small chunks of things daily or regularly. So would you suggest doing something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, right, if you want the smallest effort with the biggest gain, right, it's a gratitude list. And I'll
Mm,
explain why. As soon as you say to yourself, um, I'm grateful for all the friends I have, right? For my health, where I live in the world, the job I do, places I go, people small things, first cup of tea in the morning, TV show I like, whatever. When you do that, you're saying to the unconscious, notice all the abundance, right? And you get more of what you focus on, right? So you're literally affirming abundance, right? So you're going to get more of it. And you're setting up your brain to look for more of that. There's something called the reticular activating system, which is a part of the brain that sorts for, right? So when I thought years ago, oh, I'm going to save up and buy a BMW, I started seeing BMWs everywhere, right? Because my brain was sorting for them. And in the same way that people who sadly are depressed, they are sorting for everything that's wrong, etc. And you can train your brain to sort for everything that's right. And one of the best ways to do that is a gratitude list. Do it every morning, take a few minutes, do it in your head, write it down. You know, everything that you could feel grateful for is one of these like positive reinforcement exercises that has massive returns. Plus, the other thing that I think is really important is purpose. The legendary psychiatrist Viktor Frankl said, purpose is the cornerstone of good mental health. Now, that can be a big purpose, change the world. It can be a small thing. It can be, I want to be a good husband. I want to be creative today. My purpose is to be, kind to my plants or something, it could be anything, right? But purpose, I've seen people, because I work with quite a few people who are depressed or in a bad way, and getting them focused on a small purpose and building to bigger ones is a route out of that, certainly part of it.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for that reminder on gratitude, because I think most people on this call know about gratitude. We know we should be doing it, or we kind of like know, yeah, we kind of know that there are benefits, but I think it's easy to not to slip out of habits, isn't it? So
Sure.
that's brilliant. And it's so easy. And that again, like, and what you just talked about is those small steps towards a bigger goal. So the bigger goal of not being depressed or of feeling better. And it's the small
Yeah.
steps that can get us there. Thank you
Yeah, it's
so
about
much, Paul.
reinforcement.
Reinforcement. Okay. Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much. So nice to have you here.
No,
Um,
pleasure. It's a pleasure, Tony, and thank you everybody for coming to this live Q&A and session. And that some people will be watching on catch up, and I just hope you get some value from it. It's always a pleasure for me to talk about this subject because it's my life's work, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today. So thank you, Tony, for inviting me to Shelf Help. And may you be safe, well, lucky, happy, joyous, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul, and thank you guys for being here. And thank you, David, Head of Tech. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.